Welcome, everyone, to another Training Tuesday where I provide you with tips, strategies, and advice to help you grow your business and increase your visibility. Well, today I thought it would be fun to talk about how we introduce ourselves and maybe take a new look at a way of introducing ourselves that actually motivates people to take action and gets them excited about who you are, what you do, and what you stand for. Today, so we're going to be talking about what's your verb and determining what you stand for. Hi, everyone. I'm Virginia Parsons, the founder of Media Spotlight Marketing, and it is my passion to inspire you, the entrepreneur, the coach, to get the word out about who you are and what you do. That's right, to help shine the spotlight on your expertise so that you attract more of your ideal clients into your business. So I thought this might be a great way to just really evoke some thought around the way we're introducing ourselves, because I think you might want to change it up a little bit and see if you inspire more action from the people that you're talking to who might be the ideal client for you. So let's talk about this from the standpoint of Alex Mendosian really brought this to my attention. He's my mentor about 5 years ago. I worked with him extensively. And one of the presentations that he did, he has given all of us, not just me, but any of you that watch this, permission to use the same presentation with other people that you're working with, other presentations that you're doing for your tribe. And it is about discovering your verb. So I want to thank Alex in advance for sharing this information. I think it's really compelling, thought-provoking information. And I think we all need to sort of rethink how we introduce ourselves to people as we're out and about. So let's get into this, and I'm going to be sharing some of Alex's slides as well. First of all, he talks about the fact that there are 3 ways that we can live our lives. We can live our lives as a noun, we can live our lives as an adjective, or I think we should live our lives as a verb. And I think you'll understand why as I go through this training with you today. I'm also at the end of the training going to show you access to Alex's site that's going to give you a lot more detail and help you go a lot more in depth so that you can help determine what your verb is and how it relates to what you stand for. So we can introduce ourselves as a noun. This is what most people do. You know, you go to a networking event and someone says, well, what do you do? And what we tend to do is introduce ourselves as a noun, right? We introduce ourselves as a manager or a speaker or an author. So this is something that we're so compelled to do because we've done it for so many years. We're all guilty of it. I don't know if it's guilty. It's just that this is the way we do things. And yet, a noun, introducing you as a noun, does not evoke a lot of response from people. Now, adjective is something we usually add to the front of a noun, right? And so if you live your life as an adjective, you tend to embellish on things in a way that hopefully will impress and please people. And yet, research has shown that there's no movement created or generated with adjectives. So I'm going to go into that in a little more detail, and then I'll come back to the third way, which is living our lives as a noun. So let's take a look at this. Leo Burnett, according to Alex, did a real extensive research on adjectives and what moves people to take action. And this is all around, advertising, but it relates to anything that we do because we are our own best advertisement, right, for our business. So what Leo Burnett found that is the more you used adjectives in your text or in your verbiage, in your scripting, the actual movement created was reduced. So the more adjectives, the less movement created. So you want to think about this from the standpoint of maybe I'm using too many adjectives and maybe I need to reduce some of them. And if you go to Alex's site, you're going to really see some great examples of this that will help you understand why maybe using less adjectives makes some sense. So if you are using terms such as I am an international best-selling author. What you've done is added the adjectives in front of author. And we all do this sort of thing. We add the adjectives to the noun. And yet, through research, it shows that that does not create the kind of movement or action that you'd really like to create. So we're going to think about this in terms of introducing ourselves as a verb. So here's the next thing I want you to keep in mind is what Albert Einstein said, and that is that nothing happens until something moves. And so if you relate this to your business, nothing's going to happen until you move people. That's right. So let's get into how we might live our lives as a verb. And I want to go into this in a little more detail here as far as how to move people and create action. You want to think about the verbs that you use being those that are not passive verbs. In other words, you don't want to say, I am something. You want to say the active verb, okay? And this really applies later on when I talk to you about in another Training Tuesday, how you take active verbs or action verbs and use those when you're setting up affirmative statements or statements that generate response from you or response from other people. So we'll get into that in another Training Tuesday. So let's go on into the PowerPoint presentation a little bit further and just talk about this. All right, here's some examples of people living their lives as their verbs. Maria Montessori, I teach, therefore I am. Now, Maria Montessori created a whole movement around teaching. And my daughter went to a Montessori school, and I'm sure many of you have heard of Montessori schools. So that's one example. How about Thomas Edison? He spent his life as an inventor. So his verb is I invent, therefore I am. And many of his inventions did not amount to anything or what he would call failures. It took hundreds of failures before he invented the light bulb. He invents, therefore I am. And then there's Mother Teresa, whose verb is I care, therefore I am. And in caring, she won numerous Nobel Peace Prizes, right? Through her verb. That is her action, her verb. And then there's Ernest Hemingway, one of the greatest American writers, and his verb is I write, therefore I am. Here's some other ideas. Amelia Earhart actually died living her verb. I fly, therefore I am. What else? How about Steve Jobs? So he is an innovator. I innovate. New forms of communication. That's what he is. That's what he was. I innovate. And then there is someone like Joan Rivers, who is a wonderful comedian who passed away a few years ago. And her comedy is all centered around provoking people. That created the laughter. I provoke, therefore I am. And think about Martin Luther King. I liberate, therefore I am. And then there's the great architect, Frank Lloyd Wright. And his verb is I design, therefore I am. Couple more here. The great painter, Pablo Picasso. His verb, of course, is I paint, therefore I am. And then there's J.K. Rowling and the Harry Potter books that took her years to get started and get noticed. And her verb is I persist. And then there's the great Warren Buffett, who has made money for millions and for his company, and his verb is I invest. And then we all know about Oprah and all the wonderful things that she has done in her life, and her verb is I empower, therefore I am. So is this inspiring in you? Just a bit of thought-provoking, what's my verb? I'd love to hear from you. I will be responding whether you're watching live or in replay. Put down what you think your verb is. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear about what you stand for as a result of your verb. So in discovering your verb, you can think about what Alex said about his own. He said, I engage, therefore I am. And he was an engager from the age of 3. And I've been to many of his presentations. I've worked with him one-on-one, and that indeed is what he does. That's what he lives by, is engagement, getting people to engage. Does a great job of it. So, what is your verb? Have you thought about it? Do you want to take a stab at it? I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what you think your verb is, and give it a little description around your verb. So what we can do is ask each other these 3 meaningful questions. So I'm going to ask them of you, and I would love for you to respond in the chat, or if we get together in maybe in a brainstorming session, I would love to do that with any of you that want to do that as well. Number 1, what is your verb? Number 2, why is it your verb? So this means more about what you stand for around your verb. And number 3, how do you live it? How do you live your verb? So I'd love to get some feedback from all of you on this idea of becoming a verb rather than a noun, or a noun accompanied by an adjective that's a people-pleasing process. Let's get away from that and into encouraging and inspiring people to respond to us in ways that attract them to you, if it's right for you. All right, so the website that you can go to is called discoveryourverb.com, and you can download this list of verbs and use those as an inspiration for you to find and discover your own verb and relate it to what you stand for. Discoveryourverb.com. You'll see great ideas in here. My verb is in this list. And I'm also looking over here to the right side where I scroll down under the S's and I see simplify. And I think of Milana and what she stands for. And I think that her verb is I simplify, and therefore I am. And think of how she has been living that and teaching all of us through demonstrating that you want to take action in the most efficient way, and you want to be able to express yourself in a way that stimulates people to be drawn to what you're doing. And she is the essence of I simplify. So there's lots of great ideas here, and I'm just going to share with you really, what my verb is. If you haven't figured it out, I've used it multiple times in this presentation. Write down if you think you know what my verb is. There's a lot of things that I do. I produce, I interview, I teach, I coach, but that's not my verb. Here's my verb. I inspire, therefore I am. And when I take this into the next step about what I stand for, it is I inspire entrepreneurs. That's all of you to step out of your shadow and shine online as the go-to expert, using some of the things that I excel in, live stream, video, and interviews, so that you can get more visibility, attract more clients, and increase your income. That's my verb, I inspire, and that's what I stand for. Now, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to brainstorm with all of you as well. So if you want to, just message me. We can jump on a Shine strategy session. We do these on Zoom. No obligation. This is just for fun, to get together and talk about what your verb might be, and maybe, discuss ways that you can shine online as the go-to expert. I'd love to talk to you about that as well. So if you're watching this in replay, go ahead and just let me know that you were here and what inspired you the most about this presentation. I hope that it inspired you to rethink how you might introduce yourself to people. And instead of introducing yourself as kind of a boring, dull noun, or a people-pleasing adjective, or a combination of the two, start thinking about how you might introduce yourself the next time you're in a meeting or in a networking event, using your verb to inspire action from others and to uplift them and to compel them to get to know more about you and, whether or not you're a good fit for working together. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This is Virginia Parsons, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Training Tuesday. Bye-bye now.